Sophie clutched the program in her lap, her manicured fingers trembling as the pianist took the stage at Carnegie Hall, the spotlight revealing a face she had mourned for a decade. Stella alive, her youthful love thought dead in that tragic accident. The melody swelled, but Sophie's world narrowed to the impossible truth. The woman she had buried in her heart was here, breathing, performing, forcing her to confront the lies that had built her empire of a life. In that moment, as applause erupted around her, Sophie felt the fragile facade of her marriage and social standing crack irreparably, pulling her toward a reckoning she never anticipated. Stella's fingers danced across the keys, each note a whisper from the past that Sophie couldn't ignore. She had built her life on the assumption of loss, marrying Alexander for his family's connections, climbing the corporate ladder in New York City's cutthroat finance world, all while suppressing the memories of stolen kisses under college dorm lights. But now, with Stella's presence flooding the auditorium, Sophie's mind raced with questions. How had she survived? Why hadn't she reached out? The performance ended to thunderous applause and Sophie rose, her heels clicking decisively down the aisle toward the backstage entrance, her heart pounding with a mix of fury and longing she hadn't felt in years. Backstage, the air was thick with the scent of fresh flowers and lingering perfume from admirers. Sophie flashed her VIP pass, her voice steady despite the storm inside. "I need to see Stella Voss," she told the security guard, her tone brooking no argument. He nodded, leading her through a maze of corridors. Sophie's thoughts churned. She had grieved Stella, attended a memorial service arranged by distant relatives, even donated to a scholarship in her name. The betrayal stung. If Stella was alive, what did that make of Sophie's sacrifices? The door opened and there she was, Stella, wiping sweat from her brow, her auburn hair tied back, looking every bit the ghost Sophie had exorcised from her soul. "Sophie." Stella's voice cracked, her eyes widening in shock. She set down her water bottle, stepping forward hesitantly. "Is it really you?" Sophie nodded, but words failed her at first. The room seemed to shrink, the weight of 10 years pressing down. "You were dead," Sophie finally whispered, her voice laced with accusation. "I buried you. I moved on because I had to." Stella's face paled, and she gestured to a nearby chair. "Sit, please. It's not what you think." But Sophie remained standing, her arms crossed, the armor of her success shielding her vulnerability. Inside, her mind screamed, "How dare you return now when I've finally convinced myself I don't need you?" Stella sank into the chair instead, her hands twisting in her lap. "The accident. It was bad. Coma for months. When I woke, everything was different. My family, they told me you had moved on, that contacting you would only hurt." Sophie scoffed, pacing the small room. "Hurt? You have no idea. I married Alexander because my parents pushed me into it, to fix me after you, to hide who I was." The confession hung heavy, a truth Sophie had never voiced aloud. Stella reached out, but Sophie pulled back. "Don't. You left me to rot in that heteronormative hell." Stella's eyes filled with tears. "I was scared, Sophie. Scared of what our love meant in a world that wouldn't accept it." Sophie's resolve wavered, memories flooding back. Of late-night talks in their shared apartment, dreaming of a future where they didn't have to hide. But reality had crashed in. Her conservative family's ultimatum, the societal pressure to conform. "I chose you once," Sophie said, her voice breaking. "And it cost me everything, my inheritance threatened, friends turning away. Then you died. And I had no choice but to rebuild." Stella stood, closing the distance. "I rebuilt too. Alone. Playing piano was my escape, my way to feel alive again." Their eyes locked, the air charged with unspoken regrets. Sophie felt the pull, the familiar ache, but she turned away. "I can't do this now. Not here." She left, her mind a whirlwind. Was this a second chance or a cruel joke? The next day, Sophie sat in her corner office overlooking Manhattan, the city buzzing below like a distant hum. She hadn't slept, replaying the encounter. Alexander had noticed her distraction at breakfast, his concern masked as casual inquiry. "Work stress?" he'd asked. She nodded, lying effortlessly as she had for years. But now the lie felt like poison. Her phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. "We need to talk. Coffee at 2? Stella." Sophie's finger hovered over delete, but curiosity won. She typed back, "Fine." Central Park Cafe. What am I doing? She thought. Risking it all for a ghost at the cafe. Stella arrived first, nursing a latte, her casual jeans and sweater a stark contrast to Sophie's tailored suit. Thank you for coming, Stella said softly. Sophie sat, ordering black coffee to steady her nerves. Explain everything. From the beginning. Stella nodded, diving in. The car crash on a rainy night, her family's decision to keep her recovery private to avoid scandal. Stella's parents, devout and unaccepting, had seen her death as a chance to erase her sinful past. They convinced me you were better off without me, Stella admitted, her voice trembling. Sophie listened, her anger shifting to empathy, then back to rage. And you believed them? After everything we shared? Stella leaned forward. I was broken, Sophie. Physically, emotionally. I thought I was protecting you. Sophie shook her head. Protecting me? Or yourself? The words cut deep and Stella flinched. Around them, families laughed, oblivious to the drama unfolding. Sophie's mind raced. My own family did the same. Threats of disinheritance if I didn't straighten out. But I fought until you were gone. Now the truth gnawed at her. Had she truly moved on or just hidden? What do you want now? Sophie asked. Stella met her gaze. Closure. Or maybe more. Sophie's heart skipped, but she pushed it down. I have a life. A husband. Responsibilities. Yet, as she left, the seed of doubt took root. The evening brought a family dinner at her parents' Upper East Side townhouse. Sophie's mother, Eleanor, fussed over the table settings, her father, Richard, discussing stocks with Alexander. Sophie smiled through it, but her thoughts were with Stella. You seem distant, dear, Eleanor noted. Sophie shrugged it off. Later in the study, Richard pulled her aside. Everything all right with you and Alex? She nodded, but he pressed. Remember, family comes first. We built this for you. The words echoed her past choices, the pressure to marry, to conform. Inside, Sophie seethed. I've paid the price, hiding my truth for your approval. That night, alone in bed while Alexander worked late, she texted Stella. Meet tomorrow. We can't leave it like this. The next meeting was at Stella's modest Brooklyn apartment, a far cry from Sophie's penthouse. Stella opened the door, her face lighting up briefly before caution set in. Come in. The space was filled with sheet music and a grand piano, remnants of a life dedicated to art. Sophie sat on the worn couch, her designer bag contrasting sharply. Tell me about these 10 years, Sophie said, needing to understand. Stella poured tea, her hands steady now. After the hospital, I moved to Europe, played in small venues, rebuilt my identity. No one knew about us. Sophie nodded, but envy stirred. While I suffocated in boardrooms and galas, you were free. Stella continued, describing the isolation, the nights questioning her choices. I almost reached out 100 times. But fear won. Sophie shared her side. The rushed marriage to Alexander, a kind man but not her heart's desire. The promotions that came with playing the perfect wife. It was survival, Sophie admitted. My parents. They never accepted who I am. Stella's eyes softened. Mine neither. That's why I stayed away. The conversation deepened, unearthing old wounds. Sophie felt the barriers crumbling, the attraction reigniting. But guilt crashed in. What about Alexander? He doesn't deserve this deception. As hours passed, Stella played a piece on the piano, one they had composed together in college. The notes evoked memories of passion and promise. Sophie joined her on the bench, their shoulders brushing. I've missed this, Sophie whispered. Stella stopped playing. Missed the music? Or us? Sophie's silence was answer enough. But she pulled away. I can't betray my life now. Stella nodded, but her eyes pleaded. Leaving, Sophie thought. Am I betraying myself by staying? The conflict escalated at work. A major deal loomed, requiring Sophie's full focus, but her mind wandered to Stella. During a meeting, her phone vibrated. A text from Stella. Thinking of you. She ignored it, but the distraction led to a mistake, questioned by her team. Later, Alexander noticed her unease. What's going on, Soph? He asked over dinner. She hesitated, then lied. Just work. But inside, the lie festered. That night, she dreamed of Stella, waking in sweat. I have to end this, she decided. But ending what? A rekindled flame or her facade? Sophie arranged another meeting, this time in a neutral park. This has to stop, she told Stella firmly. Stella's face fell. Stop what? Talking? Feeling? Sophie paced. I'm married. Society expects. My family expects. Stella challenged her. What do you expect? Happiness? Or approval? The word struck home. Sophie recalled her parents' disapproval when she came out briefly in college, the therapy sessions to cure her. I chose approval because love hurt too much, Sophie confessed. Stella took her hand. It doesn't have to. But Sophie withdrew. It does. For me. Yet as she walked away, doubt lingered. Is this choice right, or just safe? The pressure mounted with a family event, a gala honoring her father's philanthropy. Sophie attended with Alexander, smiling for photos, but her thoughts were elsewhere. Spotting a lesbian couple openly affectionate, envy pierced her. Why can't that be me? Later, Eleanor cornered her. You look tired. Is everything okay? Sophie nodded, but Eleanor's knowing gaze unnerved her. Remember, dear, we only want what's best. Best for whom? Sophie wondered. That night, unable to sleep, she called Stella. I need to see you. The rendezvous was impulsive, at a quiet bar. Stella arrived hopeful. What's changed? Sophie shook her head. Nothing. Everything. She poured out her fears, the potential scandal, losing her position, her family's rejection. Stella listened, then shared her own scars. The disownment after the accident when her parents discovered old letters from Sophie. I paid the price alone, Stella said. Don't make the same mistake. Sophie felt the weight. My choices hurt others too. As they parted, a kiss brushed her cheek, igniting forbidden warmth. Driving home, Sophie grappled. Can I afford this truth? Alexander confronted her the next morning. You've been distant. Is there someone else? Sophie's heart raced. No, she lied, but his eyes searched hers. I love you, Soph, but I deserve honesty. Guilt consumed her. She spent the day in turmoil, weighing loyalties. By evening, she texted Stella. We can't meet again. But Stella replied. Is that what you want? No, Sophie thought, but it's what I must do. The internal battle raged, tearing at her soul. The climax approached with a surprise. Stella's concert tickets arrived anonymously at Sophie's office. Attending would be risky, but ignoring felt like surrender. She went, sitting in the shadows. Stella's performance was mesmerizing, dedicated subtly to lost loves found. Tears streamed down Sophie's face. After, she waited outside. Stella emerged, spotting her. You came. Sophie nodded. I had to. They walked, talking of futures possible and impossible. But reality intruded. A paparazzo snapped a photo. Panic set in. What if it's published? Sophie's world teetered. The photo hit tabloids the next day. Heiress Sophie Harrington spotted with mystery woman, affair rumor swirl. Sophie's phone exploded with calls. Alexander stared at the paper over breakfast, his face ashen. Is this true? He demanded. Sophie sank into a chair, the weight of her deception crushing her. It's complicated, she whispered. He stood, hurt etching his features. Complicated? We're married. Inside, Sophie screamed, I never wanted this cage. But aloud, she begged for time. Alexander left for work, slamming the door, leaving her in silence. Her parents arrived unannounced, Eleanor clutching the tabloid. What is this nonsense? Richard thundered. Sophie faced them, her resolve cracking. It's Stella. She's alive. The revelation stunned them. Eleanor gasped. That girl? From college? Richard's face reddened. We thought that phase was over. You married Alexander to move past it. Sophie bristled. Phase. It was love. The argument escalated, old wounds reopening. You'll lose everything, Richard warned. The firm our support. Sophie thought. Is their love conditional? She stood firm. Maybe I need to. But doubt gnawed. Can I survive without them? Stella called, concerned. I saw the photo. I'm sorry. Sophie met her at a hotel lobby, away from prying eyes. This is my fault, Sophie said. Stella shook her head. It's ours. For not fighting sooner. They discussed options, coming out divorce scandal. Stella shared her plan. I'm leaving for a tour in Europe. Come with me. The offer tempted, but Sophie hesitated. My life is here. Stella pressed. Is it yours or theirs? Sophie felt torn. Freedom versus security. Leaving, she pondered. What price for authenticity? Work became a battlefield. Colleagues whispered. Clients questioned her focus. Her boss pulled her aside. Handle this discreetly, or it affects us all. Sophie nodded, but resentment built. That evening, Alexander proposed counseling. We can fix this, he said. Sophie agreed, but her heart wasn't in it. During the session, truths emerged, her unhappiness, his suspicions. I married you thinking you loved me, he said, wounded. Sophie cried. I do, but not like that. The admission freed her slightly, but hurt him deeply. Alone later, she reflected. My choices damaged him too. Is redemption possible? Family pressure intensified. Eleanor hosted an intervention. Relatives gathered. Think of the children you'll have, an aunt urged. Sophie laughed bitterly. Children? In a loveless marriage. Richard threatened. We'll cut you off. The ultimatum stung, echoing her youth. Sophie stormed out, driving aimlessly. She ended at Stella's door. I can't do this alone, she admitted. Stella held her. You don't have to. But as they talked, Sophie realized. This love comes with its own costs. Stella's career, public scrutiny. The media frenzy grew, reporters camping outside her home. Sophie issued a statement. Personal matters are private. But leaks from sources painted her as unfaithful. Friends distanced themselves. Invitations dried up. Isolation hit hard. Stella faced backlash too. Bookings canceled due to controversy. See what our love does. Sophie lamented. Stella replied. It exposes the ugliness. That's progress. Sophie admired her strength, but feared her own weakness. Inside, am I brave enough for this fight? A turning point came at a charity event Sophie couldn't skip. Whispers followed her, judgmental eyes. Alexander attended separately, their rift public. During a speech, Sophie faltered, her mind on Stella. Later, a supportive colleague approached. I went through something similar. You're not alone. The kindness sparked hope. That night, Sophie called her parents. I need space. Eleanor's voice softened. We love you, but... Sophie hung up, empowered. She texted Stella. Let's face this together. But uncertainty lingered. Will society ever accept us? The damage rippled. Alexander filed for separation, citing irreconcilable differences. Sophie signed, relief mixed with sorrow. I'm sorry, she told him. He nodded. Be happy. The divorce proceedings loomed. Assets divided. Sophie moved to a smaller apartment, freedom tasting bittersweet. Stella supported her, but tensions arose. Stella's tour conflicted with Sophie's needs. Go, Sophie urged, hiding hurt. Stella hesitated. What about us? Sophie assured. We'll make it work. But inwardly, distance might break us again. Social backlash peaked with online hate, tweets calling her degenerate, family values groups protesting. Sophie read them, self-doubt creeping. Maybe they're right, she confided in Stella. Stella countered. No, love isn't wrong. Their bond strengthened through adversity, but scars formed. Sophie attended therapy alone, unpacking years of suppression. Revelations hurt. Her parents' influence had shaped her more than she admitted. I betrayed myself, she realized. The session ended with homework. Confront them. Confrontation day arrived. Sophie invited her parents to coffee, neutral ground. Richard arrived stern, Eleanor anxious. Why now? Richard asked. Sophie laid it bare. Because I've hidden too long. Stella's return showed me that. Eleanor teared up. We wanted to protect you. Sophie challenged. From what? Happiness. The discussion heated. Old arguments resurfacing. Richard admitted. Society is cruel. Sophie nodded. But so is denying who I am. A crack appeared. Eleanor hugged her. We need time. Sophie left hopeful, but wary. Change isn't instant. Stella's tour began, leaving Sophie alone with her thoughts. Letters exchanged, video calls sustained them, but jealousy stirred Stella's mentions of fans. Trust me, Stella said. Sophie tried, but past abandonment haunted. Work stabilized as she came out publicly in an interview. I'm gay and proud. Support poured in, but hate too. A promotion followed, her authenticity valued. Inside, this is the price, vulnerability for truth. The family rift mended slowly. Richard called. We're trying. They met for dinner, awkward but progressing. Alexander remarried quickly, Sophie attending the wedding as friends. You look happy, he said. She was mostly. Stella returned midway, surprising her at the airport. I couldn't stay away. Their reunion was tender, decisions pending. Move in? Stella asked. Sophie agreed, but fears lingered. What if it fails? Society's judgment persisted. At a pride event, Sophie spoke, sharing her story. Applause empowered her, but protesters outside reminded of battles. Stella joined her on stage, their hands linked, a public declaration. Media spun it positively, but backlash from conservatives hit. Sophie's firm lost a client. Moral differences. She shrugged. Their loss. But privately it stung. Stella comforted. We're building something real. Sophie nodded, but wondered. At what cost to our peace? Internal conflicts resurfaced. Sophie dreamed of the accident, blaming herself for not searching harder. Why didn't I question? She asked Stella. Stella revealed. I hid intentionally, ashamed. Honesty deepened their bond, but unearthed pain. Therapy helped, unpacking Mouthwandao Duk. Was hiding ethical? Sophie concluded. No, but survival sometimes demands it. Stella disagreed. We owe ourselves truth. Debates strengthened them, but exhausted. A betrayal emerged. A friend leaked private texts to tabloids. Headlines screamed. Lesbian affair details exposed. Sophie felt violated, trust shattered. Who can I rely on? She cried. Stella investigated, discovering it was a jealous colleague. Confrontation followed. Why? The colleague spat. You flaunt it. Sophie fired back. I live it. The incident isolated her further, but solidified her resolve. No more hiding. The awakening built. Sophie volunteered at LGBTQ centers, mentoring youth. Stories mirrored hers. Family rejection, societal pressure. You're not alone, she told a teen. It healed her own wounds. Stella composed a piece inspired by their journey, premiering to acclaim. For Sophie, she dedicated. Tears flowed. But success brought envy. Stella's rising fame meant travel. Go, Sophie insisted, hiding loneliness. Inside, am I losing her again? Reconciliation with parents progressed. A family therapy session revealed Eleanor's own suppressed feelings. I had a friend once. Understanding dawned. Richard softened. I was wrong. Hugs followed, tentative healing. Sophie reflected. Forgiveness is hard but necessary. Stella met them, tension high but civil. She's important, Sophie said. Acceptance grew slowly. The story crested with a proposal. Stella knelt during a quiet dinner. Marry me? Sophie gasped. Yes. Joy overwhelmed, but reality intruded. Legal battles in conservative circles. Planning ensued, invites selective. Doubts crept. Is this too soon? But love prevailed. The wedding approached, symbolizing triumph over adversity. The wedding day dawned bright. A small ceremony in the Hamptons, friends and reconciled family attending. Sophie walked the aisle, Stella waiting in a tailored suit. Vows exchanged. Through loss and return I choose you. Tears and applause. But absent were some relatives, their absence a reminder of unfinished battles. Reception buzzed, toasts to resilience. Sophie danced with Stella, whispering, we made it. Yet inside, at what price? Post-wedding life normalized, honeymoon in Europe blending Stella's tour. Challenges arose. Paparazzi intrusions, online trolls. Sophie blocked them, focusing on joy. Work thrived. Her story inspiring policies for inclusivity. Stella's album released, dedicated to my wife. Success sweetened but exhaustion hit. Is it worth it? Sophie asked one night. Stella nodded. Every scar. Sophie agreed but pondered the toll on their mental health. Social mouthwash persisted. A lawsuit from a disgruntled client claimed discrimination. Ironic. Sophie fought, winning but drained. Why us? She lamented. Stella. Because we're visible. Visibility brought allies too, invites to speak, donations pouring in. Sophie founded a foundation for LGBTQ youth, channeling pain into purpose. This is my awakening, she realized. Family bonds strengthened. Holidays together. Awkward laughs turning genuine. Eleanor's confession deepened. I regret pushing you. Sophie forgave. We all learn. Richard mentored Stella's career. Surprising support. But old habits died hard, subtle judgments. Sophie addressed them. No more. Boundaries set, respect earned. Personal growth peaked. Sophie journaled, unpacking decades of suppression. I was wrong to hide, she wrote. Stella read it, sharing her own. I betrayed us by staying silent. Mutual forgiveness healed. Intimacy grew, emotional not physical, deepening connection. But external pressures tested. A death threat online, police involved. Fear gripped. Is love this dangerous? They moved to a quieter suburb, balancing city life. Stella taught piano, Sophie consulted remotely. Peace settled but drama lingered. A former friend apologized for the leak. Sophie accepted warily. Trust rebuilds slowly. Life's rhythm established. Highs and lows. Sophie reflected. Choices define us, but so do consequences. The story closed on a quiet evening, Sophie and Stella on their porch watching sunset. Do you regret anything? Stella asked. Sophie smiled. Only the time lost. They held hands, future uncertain but theirs. Yet questions remained. In a world of prejudice, can true love ever be without sacrifice? Was Sophie's decision to pursue her true love, despite the pain inflicted on her husband and family, ultimately the right choice?